Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, this is Joe and Jay Outspoken. You can find all of our social media platforms at Linktree/Joe and Jay Outspoken. This week we are going to be talking about TDS. What is TDS, Joe?
The Trump Derangement Syndrome.
Oh,
That's where people who don't like Trump, they go cuckoo. You know what I mean? They go loose.
Yeah.
They go to the far left. You know what I mean? Very, very. I mean,
Yep.
granted, I will give you a couple of there's been times where I hear Daddy Trump talking, and I'm like, all right, oh man, that was good point, and he keeps going. I'm like, cut it, let's stop it there, but you know what? He can say what he wants when he's got this country running smooth. But you know what I mean?
Right.
Who am I to judge you, bro? You're doing the right thing, do it. But then you have all these people, the TDSers, they're losing their mind on medication and screaming and yelling. And then you guys stay tuned because you're going to see how the mainstream media has TDS.
That they do. Well, let's get going.
Let's do this.
All right, everybody, welcome back to our episode on TDS, Trump Derangement Syndrome. So, yeah, man,
That's a real thing, bro. That's a real thing.
It's a real thing. It really is because. So I don't know if you've seen that video. So everybody knows who The View is, right?
If you had told me you were going to bring this up, bro, I wouldn't have even been here today. Right?
Those cackling hyenas,
isn't it funny that Whoopi played a hyena in the Lion King? Shocking.
Wow. I didn't even put those two things together.
She played that role for a reason.
Yeah, here we are. So there was I think Joe Rogan showed it, and I think Russell Brand also was doing some clips on it. So it was don't quote me on this, but I think 2015, and Trump was on The View.
Oh, yeah.
Whoopi was there, and all of them, and they're like, kissing his butt, basically like. The only negative thing they said was, well, if you're going to become president, you did have a couple failed marriages, and
that's when Barbara Walters was on there, right?
Barbara Walters was there.
She was on.
That's right. Yeah, and when she introduces him, she's like, my good friend, Donald Trump, and he comes on, and they're all they're actually really cordial to him. They're all really nice, and he's his. What he says and his, if you want to say rhetoric or whatever, his views were the same then as they are now. So what happened for them to all of a sudden turn 180 from the way they were with him at that time, prior to him becoming the president, to after he becomes president? Why is it? And, and I ask anybody out there, because it's a free country. If you don't like Trump, you don't like Trump, But what is it that all of a sudden now you hate him so much for, and you didn't have that energy 5 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Where was that energy 5 years ago? I hate this guy. I hate this. Because let's say, I don't know, let's say The Rock. The Rock says he's going to become president, right? And all of a sudden, the media just starts shoving false narratives about him, and now all of a sudden everybody hates The Rock.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody loved him before. Now all of a sudden they don't like him. And do that with anybody. Ryan Reynolds, I know that's your favorite guy.
That's my nemesis. My nemesis. Do not like him.
And same thing. If he becomes
Blake, you need to leave him. He's fake.
He's fake.
And he's Canadian.
They call him AI Reynolds. So that's who we got there. All right, so
what? that's the same question I ask myself all. I don't answer myself, so I'm not crazy. But that's the same question I ponder on. Is like, what changed? What is it that the Trump America loved became the Trump that America loves to hate? And I don't get it. I'm waiting for what's that guy's that actor's name? Matthew McConaughey. He's also talking about getting into politics in his home state of Texas. So that's going to be the next person, depending on what his views are and which side he's really going to be on. I think that's going to say a lot, because if he goes and becomes a conservative, or is a conservative, or has conservative views, they might turn on him. Everyone loves Matthew McConaughey. I love his movies, great movies, blah, blah, blah. But what's going to happen? So I think, and again, I ponder on that question so many times, and I'm thinking, what changed? What happened? And I think it's the fact that Hollywood is so left. It's so left, right? Because why? Because they're criminals. They do all kinds of crazy things over there, and the left protects them. So they're left. Unions are left. Everyone's left. These big places, they love the lefties. And hey, it's a free country. You can love who you want. The problem is, once you, and again, if you remember, Trump was a Democrat. Trump was a lefty, right? Yeah. But it wasn't until the lefties started kind of losing ground on their moral standards, what they used to stand for, kind of went away, and they became these radical progressive left movement, right? They call the MAGA movement crazy and radical. But if you really sit back and look and compare one on one, you're going to see that the left has really lost their mind. That's the reason I feel that Trump changed parties, is because what he believed in as a Democrat started losing ground under that political party. And if you remember, in that interview in the View with Barbara Walters was in there, his focus, his concern was, we're being ripped off, right? Which again, China, right, yeah, and
military spending,
everything, which again stands to what he believes in, and that America comes first. I mean, I'm gonna tell you right now, Trump is a number one patriot. That dude loves this country. Whether it was how he was brought up, whether the schools that he attended, I don't know what it is. But when you go to private schools, they're really driven in religion and in patriotism. So they're driven into those core factors. Just kind of like the schools out here in Arizona, the Mormon schools, they're driven by those two things. So it's important to understand that aspect of it. I think the second part to that is that so much misinformation has gone out there that people just believe it now. Like, it's amazing to me that people are that gullible, especially the people on the left, that they believe everything they say or they hear or they read about. Now, if you spend just a moment on social media, which, sometimes we'll browse through it, whatnot, I don't have a lot of time to be on there. I'm too busy. You're busy as heck. So we get in there once in a while. I think you and I communicate by memes that we find on social media, or stuff that we see that we think it's funny. But let me take, for example, CBS. Now, CBS has two headlines, right? Same thing. So so when Kamala Harris she proposes a $6,000 tax credit for new parents, right? And then CBS says, and they other middle class breaks, and they build her up like she's doing a great thing. When Vance talks about it, the CBS headline changes. Vance wants to raise the child tax credit to $5,000. Here's what that could be difficult. Like, wait a minute. So Harris wants to raise it $6,000. It's hey, that's great for the middle class. But then Vance says it, and here's the problem that's going to occur. Like, why the double standard? Why is it that because one person says it, it's okay, but then the moment the other person says it, nope, that's going to be chaotic. You can't do that. Here's another one from CBS. Let me read this to you. This is CBS. Vice President Kamala Harris is rolling out a new policy position saying she'll fight to end taxes on tips for service and hospitality workers. Now, if you remember, that was a Trump idea. That was a Trump idea, right?
Yeah.
But that is CBS headlines, right? And it sounds like, oh my God, she's doing it. Oh my God, right? But then here's the one for Trump. CBS News, same people. Look it up. Former President Donald Trump's vow to stop taxing tips would cost the federal government up to $250 billion over 10 years, according to a nonpartisan watchdog group. Same exact thing. Do you see the difference in the headlines, though?
Absolutely.
So when people read, people like, let's say, oh, I don't like Trump because he sends mean tweets. And then they read something like that CBS sends out. What do you think they're going to think? He's going to drive this country into foreclosure. He's going to bankrupt it like he did the casino. He's going to blah, blah. You know what I mean? That's the mentality that the progressive left has. But then they read the false headlines of Harris and they're like, she's going to, oh my God, she's not going to tax tip. Bro, that was Trump's idea to begin with. And second of all, we had a balanced budget when Trump was in office. We had money, prices were low. How can you deny that? So you know how they deny it? You know how they counter that because of the TDS? This is how they do it. Well, they're having this Biden administration having a hard time because they're cleaning up what Trump did, right? But then when Trump made that great 4 years he had, there's like, well, that's because Obama set it up. I'm like, what? I mean, like, all right. So I don't get it.
Well, the only thing they'll get on it about him spending so much money, and the time that a lot of money started going out was during the COVID time.
Yeah.
And he even said it that, it wasn't the fault of the businesses or the people that they were shut down, so that we were going to, and we were going to figure it out. He's like, we're going to figure out where to get the money from, but we can't let our businesses and our people suffer.
Well, no, of course not.
And then
we go into a recession.
Right. And of course, the people on the other side of the aisle were saying, well, all of a sudden they're saying, where do we get this money from? The people in this country didn't get as much money, just like the people in Lahaina didn't get. They got $400 for what, yet we can send millions over to these other countries and everything. So, one of the things that I think still to this day, this argument that we have, January 6th, and I'm looking at,
oh God, I'm just so over that.
Right? January 6th, the Capitol riot on January 6th was in quotations, a terror attack that resulted in almost 10 dead. It's funny that they said almost 10 dead because within 36 hours, 5 people had died. One person was actually killed in the event, and that was one of the, you would say, protesters, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she was killed by Capitol Police. Another person died of a drug overdose. Now, would you say had anything to do, somebody doing drugs, whatever? I mean, it was probably a bum on the street, and they're like, oh, look, they're in the vicinity, and they died.
Well, if we go by the Biden and Fauci standards, yes. Kind of because they did that with COVID. The guy died of a heart attack. Like, it was COVID.
Right.
COVID killed him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, by those standards, yeah, I see it. But, of course, they're not. They're lies.
The thing is, how many people died in all the peaceful protests, right? The Summer of Love, and which was led by the left. Let's just take ownership of this. I've said this before. You and I have talked about this. The people at January 6th could have been Trump supporters, and they could have been Republicans. None of those people that quote unquote broke in or did anything bad were conservatives, because a true conservative wouldn't have done any of that kind of stuff, right? My feeling on it, there's been too much proven, but I mean, at this point, it's water under the bridge kind of thing. But there was people that were trying to incite that stuff, and I believe that happened on the other side too, in Portland and so Oregon and Washington, all the stuff they had over there. There was, I saw some clips of some black girls that there was some people with hoodies and stuff on, and they were spray painting and stuff on windows, and they were saying, hey, that's not us. Like that, we don't know who those people are. They're not from here. And we've all seen, the video clips of these people being shipped in like U-Haul trucks and dropped off, on both sides. So the far right, MAGA, whatever you want to say, and then the far left side too. Dude, people seem to forget that they're when those riots were happening, especially on the West Coast, but you had some in Minneapolis, and I can't
A
remember
lot
the
in Minneapolis,
other big cities that were. Yeah, Minneapolis is
Portland,
yeah,
Chicago. I mean,
Portland, Chicago.
they were happening everywhere.
There were pallets of bricks dropped in the middle of the street.
They were
Now, think about
building walls. They were going to build a wall.
that for a second. Why would anybody put a pallet of bricks in the middle of the street right when a riot's going to happen, right? So was this planned? Is this stuff? And again, all of this stuff, you know, going back to the TDS thing, is to get everybody on opposite ends of the page. It's divide and conquer, right? It's
Exactly.
easier to control us if we are out of control. And so the scariest thing for, you know, people that want a totalitarian system, a government system, is for all the people to unite and all the people to be like, you guys are the problem, not us. Yeah, we may not all agree 100% on religion and culture and all these kind of
Well,
things,
that's what
and
makes
that's
this
cool.
country great, though.
Absolutely, man. Imagine, you know, we're foodies, dude. We love to eat, right?
Here we go. Why do you keep
Here
being
we
business
go.
tahoe, bro? Here we go.
You know,
Yeah.
you want to go get some tacos, and they're like, well, they don't make tacos in the United States anymore because we don't want that culture here anymore. Get out of town, dude. That ain't never gonna happen. That's Italian food, Thai food. Think about all the different kinds of,
We can do with that Italian food. There's a lot of starch in Italian food. I'm over it.
Yeah, I'm
But-
trying not to eat pasta
Yeah.
anymore. So.
But no, you know, here's the thing. And I personally don't think MAGA is the extreme right. MAGA is just I personally feel they're just a group of people who support Trump because let's be honest, there's a lot of people on both sides that don't like Trump because Trump is a threat, not a threat to society, but a threat to the standard politician who just knows how to fill his pockets with money, and that goes for both sides of the aisle. He's not colorblind to that. He understands that there's you know there's pickpockets on both ends, you know. And I think the problem that we're having in today's society is that yes, we do respect the fact that we have the First Amendment, and we should always respect the freedom of speech, right? And I think Elon Musk is very, very straightforward about his platform and the First Amendment, and you know, with the freedom of speech. But I think there has to be some type of like, hey, you know what? We're not doing this misinformation. We're not doing this. You know, people keep throwing that. I forget what it's called. There's something 2025. What is that? They keep saying that's Trump's plan.
I think it's Project 2025.
Yeah, which is completely not his plan. He does nothing to do with that. And they keep throwing that out there on social media, you know, and I see all these people and they're just, you know, and I honestly, I feel like they're getting paid. I feel like the left is like, hey, look, I need you're an influencer, get on there and just start flooding it with a bunch of stuff that's anti-Trump. Right. And they're doing it. That you can't scroll 4 pages and you're going to see something about Trump. You know what I mean? And it's just the standard that there is out there. You don't see that on the conservative side. I mean, are there extreme righties? Yes, there are. And some are like, I disown them as a conservative. I'm like, yeah, man, dude, you're out of line. You know what I mean? But conservatives don't go out there and send all that misinformation. We don't go out there, you know, it is what it is. We don't go out there and start rioting. We don't do any of these things. I'm not a big conspiracy theorist. I know you are, but I have to agree with you, man. There's so many suspicious things going on with that January 6th, with all the riots that happened in Minneapolis and Portland and just all these states and Chicago, everywhere. That just didn't make sense. You know, you have those videos of the Capitol Police escorting these people, you know, and I'm like, dude, what the heck? You know, now those people that put their feet on desk and break things or stole things, prosecute them. I'm all for it. But
100%.
Yeah, but or damage or capital, I'm all for it. But let's not forget about the people who tore down statues, monuments from our past that were part of state government. Nothing happened to those people. Even today, you have all these pro-Palestinian people, right, spray painting Hamas on the Statue of Liberty, but on the Liberty Bell, on all
Oh
kinds of,
man.
just demolishing things with graffiti. And what are we doing? We're sending taxpayer dollar over there to clean it up. But we're not addressing them. They have a freedom to assemble. They have freedom of speech. Oh, really? So then what do you call the January 6ers? Why do you call that insurrection? They had a freedom of assembly.
Right.
They had a freedom of speech. They walked in. They didn't shove them out. They didn't kick them out. They let them in. They walked a single file line. Hey, don't cross this red line. You didn't see them tearing up anything other than, those
Right.
few crazy people. They didn't burn nothing down. They didn't do. But you had
No.
people from the left that went into the Capitol. This was years ago, and detonated a bomb. In who was that? They were some crazy Americans. They took a suitcase. And this was, I think, in the 80s or 90s. They went in there, and one of the chambers, right outside the chambers, they detonated a bomb. And those are terrorists. Those are the people that we should go after. But you're talking about these people that just walked in there because they were, they wanted to, they were done. They were over the BS. And now we're finding out that there was all kinds of voter fraud going on, right?
Yeah.
There's all kinds of stuff happening. Just recently I read in the news, or I saw in the news, how there's thousands of registered voters that were illegal. It was like one social security card. It was one social security with like 50 names. And I'm like,
For 50 names, yeah.
I'm like, what the hell? So it's really crazy. I can't remember the state. And I hate that I can't remember. But I think it was the state Secretary of State. I can't remember this. I don't know if it was Georgia or a southern state that they were doing an investigation on it. And I'm like, that's crazy, right? And then now Georgia came up that, okay, there was some fraud. Arizona, there was some fraud, right?
Right.
But then you want to sit there and say, we're not doing nothing wrong. You guys are crazy.
Right.
Again, not a conspiracy theorist. But when you start finding facts, when you start saying, hey, a lot of people were dead. Hey, a lot of these people, they had like 15 ballots in. A lot of these, like, all right. Who, all of a sudden there's like a thousands of votes for Biden come in last minute. I mean, get out of town. What are we doing here? You know what I mean?
Right.
So like all these people are brainwashed by mainstream media, by their own politicians, and so it just exaggerates that TDS in them. And oh my God, I've never seen in my existence since I remember, not counting when I was a child because my mind was elsewhere. Since I remember the politics, has there been a man hated so much,
Right.
as a
Well,
president
I'm telling you
or a
right
candidate?
now, it is a campaign that they have with social media,
Mhm.
with legacy media, everything, to go against everything that Trump stands for. Forget about him as a person for a second, just all of what he would stand for. And again, we've said this before. Do you want to repeat the last 3.5 years we've already went through, which is the economy's just been every time they say, oh, the economy's better and everything. How many of you are paying less for your groceries or less for your gas or any of that kind of stuff? That's none of us are, right? So you know who that doesn't affect? Rich people, very wealthy people. It doesn't affect them. So I would like to go back to, regardless of who the person is, the 4 years that Trump was in office, right? Because those years were really good. The company I'm with, they were making a lot of money, way more than now, right? Gas prices were down, food was down. It was cheaper to buy a house. Interest rates were down.
Oh yeah.
All of these things that help the average person. And the thing is, the average politician is not an average person.
No.
They have so much money. They've utilized their knowledge in, things that are being put out as bills and everything, that they can do stuff in the stock market that the average person, it would be called insider trading. But for them, it's not, And so
Dirty, man. They're dirty. Poor
they're
Martha
really
Stewart.
dirty. And I know that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
They put Martha Stewart in
And
prison
Pelosi's
for that,
doing worse than her.
Pelosi's doing worse stuff, and she'll never get busted for it because she's highly protected by this whole cabal that's out there. So to kind of cap off what we were talking about with like January 6th, so you had 6 people that died within the first. And the thing is, it's not the day of or whatever. They're talking about, within the first 36 hours or what have you. And a couple of those officers like committed suicide, which is really, really, really weird to me. Really weird to me. Did they? Did they? Did they?
But did they?
Yeah. Did they actually commit suicide? Was it a Jeffrey Epstein suicide kind of thing?
Cameras aren't working all of a sudden.
Yeah, it's
Weird,
really
weird. You know what? Some of the best kept prisons, the most up to date, cleanest, nicest prisons are federal prisons. And you're gonna tell me that your cameras broke during that moment that Epstein hung himself? Get out of here! Get out of
yeah.
here! Good job.
Yeah,
Good job there, Clinton. Good job.
Well, the thing is, they still have Ghislaine Maxwell. There's been nobody. Those people, both of them were arrested and jailed, detained, whatever you want to call it. And we've had no names dropped or anything. Nothing's come out
She's
of
probably
that.
not even in prison, bro. They probably let her out already because they moved her somewhere.
They can't allow her to slip one name because then they all slip. Because you think about it. If you're on that roll sheet, right, and you say, listen, if my name gets posted up there, everybody I know is getting posted up there too, right? So it's all for one. It's that whole thing.
She's probably not even in prison.
Well,
she's probably gone.
How do we know if she's not dead? We don't.
Yeah, but that's another thing. So going back to TDS, that's another thing. They headlines everywhere. Trump is using Epstein's jet. Blah blah blah. I'm like, oh my god. First off, that's a lease jet. It's a lease jet, right? So anyone could go lease it. So if Trump needs a plane to get from point A to point B because now you got Vance on the trail and he's going somewhere else, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, that he still uses Epstein's jet. He goes to a company. The company says, yeah, this is the plane I have. It's leased. What are you going to do? I need a trace on who all owned this or use this because I don't want to use it. If it, you know what I mean? Like, right. Dude, it's business is everything. I don't got time to figure out. Like, imagine you go to a car rental place and you're like, okay, dude, did any pedos rent this? Does anybody? I don't know, bro. You want the car or not? You know what I mean? That's what's available. And so
you want the Geo Metro or not?
Yeah. And let's be real about this. I'm sure that all rich millionaires go probably to the same private airport to rent the same types of plane. You know what I mean? Kind of like in California, Palm Springs, all those rich people, they go to Millionaire and they rent the same jets at Millionaire, right? That's what the airline's called, Millionaire. And it's a private company, right? They're all going to rent from the same place. So Epstein rented from there because he had billions. Trump rents from there because he has billions, right? Well, maybe not so many now because he was president for years and he lost a lot of money. Come on, you're really going to base it on that? But that's their focus. Again, mainly mainstream media, TDS, bro, all of them. They can't sit there and ask straight just questions. Hey, what's your plan for the economy? Hey, no, they got to dig in there. You said this on this day about Pelosi. What did you mean by that? Like they just want dirt. But then you get Kamala, whatever her name is, bro. I don't even know. I don't know if it's Kamala, if she's Indian, Kamala, if she's black. I don't know, bro. It's one of the two. Anyway, Miss Harris, if you're nasty. So they ask her like the easiest of questions. Like, hey, who was your 6th grade teacher? Does she support you now? Like the stupidest of things. I'm making that up. That's not what they asked her. But
no, but it's very true, man. They've been softballing questions to both of them forever.
For Biden, bro. They make excuses for him. Dude, by the way, I don't even know where Biden is. I don't know if he's MIA, bro. Viewers out there, if you guys see Biden, just drop us an email. Say, hey, we saw him. There's a sighting.
Because he's
I don't
MIA
know where Joe's
right
at, bro.
now.
I don't know where Joe is,
bro. He hasn't been running our country to begin with, but now he's really, there's like asleep at the wheel, man.
I'm worried about him, bro. I'm really worried about him.
Because while Biden or what's the heck, Jean Pierre, whatever her name is, that girl, the only person that was giving her tough questions, and that was all she could handle, was what's his name, Ducey. He's the only one giving any of them tough questions, because all the other networks are just softballing them stuff. Now,
Oh yeah.
when Trump was in office and his press secretaries, like, gosh, I'm trying to think, Kelly McEnany and everybody else that was in there, they were grilled all day long, you know.
Or
And
you could tell. You could tell.
those girls had all their stuff together and were like Johnny on the spot with
Oh yeah.
everything, you know.
Yeah.
And
So that's the thing.
there was no, well, we'll have to circle
No,
back.
most conservatives, bro, they know their thing. If they're gonna argue about something, they know their stuff, you know. And I there was a time when the left was like that. Not no more. So anyway, who the press secretary? What's her name again?
the
Something
the
Pierre.
current one,
Yeah, yeah.
Jean-Luc Pierre.
Okay, bro, bro. Okay, I don't know why. I don't know if it's her hair, but do you remember? You don't remember Lori Lightfoot? You know who that is? She's the
Oh yeah,
ex mayor of
yeah,
Chicago, bro.
yeah.
That's like her.
Beetlejuice.
That's like her mom, bro. I feel like that's her, bro. It must be that hair. I don't know, but anyway, I don't know why I said that.
That's
so,
horrible.
That's horrible.
Karine Jean-Pierre, Jean-Pierre,
Lightfoot,
whatever.
right?
Yeah,
Hash mark. But the you're right though. The questions are so different, and I sit there and think like, what happened to those old debates? You know, like the old questions, those old this Cronkite days when
Walter Cronkite,
when he asked just the tough questions like, hey, what are you going to do for the economy?
Right.
What's your plan different than that person's plan? What is it? The tough questions that you ask, not like, hey, like you were heard in a recording back in the 80s when you weren't supposed to be on a hype mic inside an RV talking about grab them by the punani. You know, how do you feel about that? I'm like, okay, bro. First off, every guy in America is probably says that in you know, when they're with another guy. You know, even though if they get no action, they're still going to be talking like they do. That's just what men do, right? Women do the same thing, so don't even lie. But you know, now those are the stupid questions that they ask. Things that happened years ago. It seems like we forgot about the good old Monica Lewinsky. Monica, yeah, that was her name, right? What was her name? Good old
Bill's friend.
Yeah, Monica. Like, did we forget about that? Like, did America just say, well, you know what? He was having a hard time. You know what I mean? Like that. All right.
He was married to Hillary. I get it.
Well, no, I get it. I personally get it. I mean, hey, bro, I'm not blaming you. That's why I'm like, hey, good for you, brother. You're still getting action, right? But the problem is because it is who it is, people are so hyper focused the fact that it's Trump, and it's sad to me. I feel like I just did cocaine and stuff. It's sad to me because that's not what we should be doing. We should be asking important questions like, what are you going to do for our country? What's going to change if you are elected president? What are the things that you're going to focus on? What are going to be your priorities? You know, I know last time he says, I can't wait to become president. I'm going to put this Hillary's going to prison and blah, blah, blah. And you know what? That's good talk. It was funny. But you know, at the end of the day, when he became president, he went to work. He started like introducing policies that impacted America, that got us money, that we started like, hey, bro, you know what? Like the guys, they were going to close down factories and send them to overseas in Michigan. What did he do? Hey, that's fine. You guys do that. I'm going to put a 40% tariff on all your cars when they come back. What they do? They're like, all right, let's keep the cars here. Let's keep the factories open, right? Pittsburgh, Michigan. Everybody was like, thank you. You know what I mean? Thank you for doing that. You know, even and those are all unions. Unions are lefties, right? And they're like, oh shoot, thank you. You know, that's important stuff. But does anyone say anything about that? No. Does Trump go on there and is like, guess what I did today? No. These are things that he's dealing with, that he's putting, you know, he does behind closed doors, that he does at these meetings that he has in Michigan. It's just him and his cabinet people. But we don't hear about it, right? Because he's all he cares about is saving jobs. He cares about the American people. He cares about not having he's a businessman. He cares about our businesses not going overseas, because if that happens, we lose that money, right?
Well, yeah. Well, here's one of the things. So you and I we're Trump supporters, right? Mm-hmm. And we can admit right off the bat that he's probably not the best spoken guy in the world, right?
Okay. Did that disqualify you?
Exactly.
So what?
But we can admit that, right? He's
Yeah.
not the best
No.
spoken guy in the world.
Like he loses his cue to stop talking.
Yeah,
Like,
right. But we could definitely stand behind policy decisions he made and things that are better for the people as a whole and for the country. And anytime people are like, well, he's going to, lower taxes on rich people and this and that. Businesses should have taxes lowered on them, right? We want businesses to open here. When taxes are too high and it costs you less to open a business south of the border, north of the border, across the ocean,
we lose them.
that's what companies do, and then we all lose. So,
but even
most
then,
people,
big companies, when they get tax breaks, that trickles down to the consumer.
absolutely. Well, let me finish with the point I'm making here is that so we can admit that he is not the most well-spoken guy,
Agreed.
but he has a really great policy deal
Mhm.
behind it. So we can talk about Kamala or Joe, wherever you're missing Joe. As a person of the left, so tell me something you don't like about them, and they will not say anything because they have been conditioned. No matter how far off the cliff these people drive, they are still behind them 100%. And this is the sad part. So we can deduce from, an individual and say, listen, there's things I don't agree with them and I don't like them, but I see that 90 something percent is what we would stand behind, right? You guys are standing behind these people 100%, and they are ding dongs.
Oh God!
Like
Don't even get me started.
I mean, so you got Kamala, who, where has she been, right, for the last 3.5 years? Where's she been? She was at.
She's been down at the border. She's been watching the border.
She's been in charge of the border, just like Pence was in charge of the border, right? Regardless of people don't like Pence anymore, whatever. He was in charge of the border because that's usually what they do for the vice president, right?
Mhm.
That's part of their whole thing. How was the border while he was in charge?
Well, it's good.
Pretty good. Trump and him did a great job with that. Now you come and
started one of the biggest started one of the biggest deportations, but actually Clinton had the highest deportation in presidency.
But well, if you go
no one knows that
back just a few years back, I mean, even Obama was saying, don't come here. They made it everything that Trump did, they tried to reverse everything.
Oh yeah, it's the same way.
So
it's good when the left does it, bad when Trump does it.
Well, think about this. Folks that are basically sheep, brainwashed, whatever you want to say, that will do whatever their masters tell them to, right? And I hate to say it that way, but this is the truth. During the pandemic, who were the people that were immediately, they'd yell at you if you didn't have a mask on and all this kind of stuff?
Lefties, bro. They succumb to the
Absolutely.
powers.
And still to this day, even after they've proven that all that stuff's, they're still on it. And they're worried about, everything else, the monkeypox and all this other stuff that's going to come up. And it's funny, it's coming up right during election season again, and people don't see this kind of stuff.
Can't wait to see those people with the mask on in their cars by themselves, bro. I'm waiting for the day.
Well, one of the craziest things that I think, two things. One is everybody's worried. Not everybody, people on the left are worried that Trump's going to get in. He's going to be this totalitarian guy, which is crazy because the other side is the one, stifling speech and everything. But here's the thing. He was in office for 4 years and didn't do any of the stuff you're saying he's going to do now. He would have done it in the first 4 years if he was that guy. Here's the second point to it. Kamala is now saying, well, if I get elected, I'm going to fix the economy and your gas is going to go down.
Bitch,
you're in office right now.
Do it now.
You've been in office for 3.5 years.
She's not going to do it. She didn't do it then. She's not going to do it.
Joe Biden has been in office for as long as you and I have been alive, bro. And he's been terrible. Obama himself said, don't let Joe do stuff, man. He's, he makes dumb decisions and he's thinking of his pocketbook. They just released, what was it, yesterday or 2 days ago, that it's official. They found that his family was involved with all kinds of money crap from overseas and everything.
Shocking.
We already knew this. It wasn't a shocker, but now it's coming out.
Why? Because he's not running anymore. So clearly they don't care.
Well,
They
you know
don't
what
care.
what they're trying to do is get him really pushed aside and say, look how good, Princess Kamala is in this whole thing. So yeah, it's
well, that's
listen, there's no problem if you don't like a candidate, right? For whatever reason, they look funny. Who cares? You don't like them. But really use
Nixon looked
some
funny.
decent reasoning to figure out, who would be better in place for something. Again, one of the things you brought up earlier was about all of these folks that they don't like Trump for maybe a policy, or it really has nothing to do with any policies of his. It really doesn't. They might have a little bit on the whole border thing and maybe abortion. That'd probably be the only two
Well,
things
here's the thing about the abortion thing. I don't know if you've noticed, they don't call it abortion. They call it women's reproductive, right? Like,
right.
So, which is totally opposite of what Trump is saying. Reproductive means we're going to reproduce. No, abortion means you're not going to reproduce. You are killing
Correct.
a child. So, and he did nothing against it. He didn't say anything wrong about. All he did was return the power back to the states where it belongs, not the federal government. The government should not be involved. Remember, we want less government involvement in things, right? And I think that, and if this is true, that if he becomes elected, he's going to do away with the Department of Education. God, I hope so. They are worthless, and people have only gotten dumber since they've been since they were created.
I know your son was in the military. My dad, I went through the VA when he had passed away, or before he passed away, and I had to deal with him. The incompetence of that administration is beyond measure.
Mm-hmm.
And the stuff was really simple, but the paperwork and everything was
makes it impossible.
It's just insane, man. And you look at like DMV, how terribly all this stuff runs. And then you can go to like a dollar store or something like that, and they're more organized than, and paying their people nothing, to be twice as organized. And the thing is, the government has all of this technology and everything at their fingertips, but one is that people aren't hired for their ability to do a job. They are hired because they have a Harvard, stamp of approval on a diploma,
and they have color to their skin. Don't forget that.
Yeah,
DEI, bro. DEI.
Well, that's the big thing with I guess last thing I have to say is that with Trumpy, the things they don't like about him, is all the stuff that has nothing to do with him running the country. All right.
It's all personal.
It's all going to be how he makes me feel. I'm stressed out about him. He doesn't like people in my, the LGBTQ community. And that's completely false. If you listen to anything that and that's the problem, is that these folks are getting stuff from social media, from legacy media, that basically either holds back, lies, or embellishes on, other parts of what he said. They don't give the whole truth, basically saying abortion thing, right? He has said it many times. Listen, if it's the health of the mother, rape, he goes, I'm all for it. I'm not telling you not to do it at all. He said, but it's not part of the federal government. This is something that needs to be handled at a state level.
Yeah.
100% agreed. The government, there is a reason that the government doesn't make tanks or fighter jets or any of that stuff. It gets outsourced to private companies. Why? Because we've already seen what happens. It was back in the 80s when it came out that, the military was paying $500 and $600 back then for a toilet seat, right? A hammer, $800, because they had all of this red tape and stuff. They had to have engineers and everybody look at it and assessed and, and all this tested it. And by the time it gets down there, I mean, you've spent so much money on this stuff.
I think they should do away with NASA too.
Yeah.
It's a waste of time, waste of money, waste of resources.
Yeah,
but you know what? They need all these.
You can just film all that stuff.
They need all these.
51.
Yeah, right. But they need all these fronts because that's how they launder their money. So,
absolutely, yeah. Well, all
and
the what do they call it, the black projects, you know,
yeah,
the underground stuff
yeah,
that nobody
yeah.
knows about. I mean,
But here's the one thing I do want to say before we go, is if Capitol Police or Secret Service are listening right now, I need you guys to do a silver alert for Joe Biden.
yeah.
Because he
Where's
is
he at?
MIA. Where is Joe? You know what? That's going to be hashtag Where's Joe. That's going to be our new thing. Hashtag Where's Joe.
Hashtag Where's Joe? You know, he's probably at an old building that used to be a Kmart looking for a blue light special that isn't there. So,
Bro, you know what? I'm going to be honest
that's
with you.
it.
I feel bad for him now. I really do. I really do. I'm not going to
Oh,
send any more mean tweets about him. I feel really bad about him because they did him dirty, bro. At the end of the
Yeah.
day, they did him dirty. His own
Well,
party did him dirty. Lefties, your party are communists, man. Look what they did to Joe, and they just slipped a little Kamala Harris right in there.
well, they didn't have a primary or anything. I
No,
mean,
they
just
did that
went
with
right there.
there was a plan behind that. There was a plan.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know all the legalities on all that stuff. I don't think that's fully legal under our constitution.
They did it, bro. They did it, and now you don't even hear about Joe. That's what worries me. I don't know if he's gone. What's going on? That scares me because that just shows the extent of power that the left has consumed or has taken upon themselves to do whatever
Right.
they want. For example, look at all the charges they do on Trump. He's going to court almost every day on some stupid stuff
Trying
that
to keep
everybody
him
else does.
busy,
Yeah, so I don't know. TDS, it's a real thing. Stay away from it, guys. Do your own research.
Yeah.
Don't believe mainstream media, man.
Don't drink the Kool-Aid.
Don't drink the Kool-Aid. Drink the alcohol instead. So that's all I have.
All right. Well, everybody, you guys have a great week. Make sure you check us out every Tuesday right here for some kind of episode.
Yeah,
and we're doing something every Tuesday.
We're doing something.
Yeah, we started a new series. We've had a couple episodes already. Our dark crime series, which got a lot of feedback and
Good
a lot
responses.
of views.
Yeah,
right away. And then we're gonna we'll keep doing our Outspoken Men's Edition, and we're probably gonna feather that out a little bit more. And
mid-month Wednesdays, guys. Mid-month Wednesdays on those.
Yeah, we're gonna add some more content and stuff in, and we're gonna start changing some stuff up. So
yeah,
hopefully you guys are enjoying yourself. Remember to like, subscribe, hit the bell, all that kind of good stuff. And remember, everybody, take care of one another.
Do better, be better.
And as always, God bless America.
All right, baby.
See y'all.
We'll see you.